to Kelly, all right? I just want you to know that.
All right. Add right now, speaker, okay?
Yep, I'm here.
We're gonna get ready to start.
I guess I'd like to call to order, if I could, February 17th, DPW monthly meeting.
You wanna turn your microphone?
Well, of course I do. After having called everybody, the meeting to order, I guess we could start with an invocation. Lord, make us an instrument of community and understanding. Lead our thoughts to propel our brothers and sisters to do your will and guide us to do this cooperatively and with community in mind. In times of concern, provide us understanding. In times of distress, provide us calm. And when faced with anxiety, help us understand with reason. Help that we can promote peace and security for all in your midst. In your name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Do I hear a, what do you call it? A motion to
Make a motion to approve the minutes. I got you.
the consent agenda as listed on the various dates on item number 3 of our agenda. So moved?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any comments from the audience? You guys?
They all left.
And if we go to Darren's regular report, please.
My regular report is we're going to be asking you for a 7% rate increase. We have 2 reasons. Number 1, to make our debt ratio. Number 2 is to start building and improving in our reserve fund. We also need to do it so that we avoid getting downgraded by S&P. One of the big harms there is that they would come in, sue us, and make us do a rate increase per their demands. Plus, we would pay for their attorneys and everything else. So those are my concerns. I would also recommend that we move that unfinished business of the scheduled rates and fees to the beginning of the meeting.
I'm going to ask just for, is there any wiggle room there at all?
I would say no.
Okay. Reason being, just for my own knowledge. I mean, it's basically the price that we paid for electric and whatnot. Correct?
Yes.
Am I not wrong on that?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
One of the so we've been beat up over what can we cut, what can we cut. If we were to cut all training, no training ever again, that's 63,000. We still are short by approximately 1.49.
Sure. Absolutely. I understand that.
There's not a chance we're making up for this by cutting anything.
Okay.
Except for what we would be losing is employees. And so it might take 2 days to get your electricity turned back on rather than 20 minutes or whatever. So if we cut wages like they want.
Just figured I had to ask.
Thank you.
I don't know if this is the time to ask. Do we want to consider moving a meeting later in the week? So that people that say they're gonna come can come? Or are we gonna go by in the past, even when I was on the other side and one of the meetings moved 5 o'clock, nobody came?
Unfortunately, I work the next 72 hours, so, and by phone might be iffy. It's, so really my vote is kind of a moot point. But if you guys want to do that, I would say that's fine.
We had moved a rate hearing to 5:30 before. Nobody else showed up. nobody extra showed up. So I'd be inclined to admit that, yes, we probably should have made consideration to have it later than 4 o'clock. And in the next ones, I will push for that.
Moving forward.
But having a whole nother round of this type of thing,
Thank you.
That's
I
fair.
don't think having a few different people here would change any of the arguments.
Because this can be viewed from home. Yeah, so,
But it's, I mean, that's absolutely fair. I think that that's fine if that's what you guys want to do. I have no problem with that.
so we're just gonna not have the additional meeting.
No, there's no reason to have an additional one.
I think going forward, trying to have it later in the day, I think would behoove us. I think that's there. I think you're right there.
You know, whether it's for, real extra input or optics, both would be worthwhile doing it for.
Yeah, or just posterity, whatever. Yeah. All right. Sorry. You had asked to move the unfinished business to the first part of the agenda?
And I'm mainly doing that because we have Lucas on the phone. He was supposed to have been out of here at 5:45.
Sure.
He waited, and so out of
Consideration to him?
consideration for him, that's my request. Lucas, are you okay with that?
I didn't catch the first part of that.
Moving the unfinished business, which is the schedule of rates and fees, to the first part of the meeting.
So I couldn't quite hear. Did you guys decide not to do another meeting to let everyone be heard?
Yes, we decided not to do another meeting.
Okay, then yeah.
But moving
I'm fine
forward,
with
we're
it.
going to do them at 5.
Okay. So the rates and fees is going to require a vote. James?
You'll need to vote.
Is it a roll vote, or is it a roll call vote, or is it just a yea or nay?
I'd do a roll call.
I would say I would recommend a roll call vote.
We need to amend the agenda first. You want a motion to amend the agenda?
Motion
Well, you're not adding or subtracting anything. You just moved when you took it. But I mean, if you want to amend the agenda, I think that's a motion to amend
Unless
the
it's
agenda.
not-
Take it up
unless
first.
It's not needed, James.
You're not. I mean, normally you amend the agenda to add or subtract something.
Okay.
But if you're concerned that someone will later claim that it was improper to vote on it earlier in the meeting, I think that's a reasonable point. So while I don't think it's legally necessary from a cover all bases situation, perhaps it would be appropriate to have a motion and affirmative vote to amend the agenda to move this to the earlier part of the meeting.
I say we should.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to move this to the earlier part of the meeting then.
And a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. On the, okay, great. On the rate and fees, James, I don't know if you picked up on that there was a question as to whether the removal of the incentive rates was done properly. I believe we did discuss it in closed session. The question I have, and I don't want it to become a huge issue, is if we take those incentive rates out for, business development, whether the thing has been looked at properly in open session.
So well, I don't recall. Was I there for that vote? I don't. I mean,
so.
not to sound dumb, but what was the vote and
So
what was the?
the incentive, the corporate incentive.
I'm familiar with the
Right.
incentive.
So
but
we had discussed. Do we vote on it?
Well, I had brought a question, or I had agreed with the question that, is there any possibility that having that rate structure in there could get us in huge trouble by somebody who's super wise and knows everything about rates and fees who comes along with a data center and is gonna spend $20 million with us is gonna insist on and actually get that type of rate, which will put us
And then
$8.5
leave.
million in the hole by providing electricity to them. Can they
So-
compel us to do it based on the way it's in there now?
So my problem is I don't recall you guys voting on, I mean, now I understand what the issue is. Yeah, I mean, I remember a discussion where we talked about, is that rate structure legally enforceable? Is it something someone could use as a affirmative weapon against you? Do you have leeway? You know, what are the provisions? And I recall that discussion, but I don't recall there being a vote.
There was no
To do
vote.
anything.
Yeah, there was no vote. We just discussed it. is all it
Okay.
was. Yeah, so, yeah.
I
sorry for the
don't know if
confusion.
we discussed it in open session, and the question that Daryl had was, did you discuss it there or in closed session? And wherever we discussed it, is it appropriate to redline it from what we're proposing, redline it from the rates and fees now?
And if that's the direction of your general manager for the current protection, and what we're doing is we're going to rewrite it and have it as a policy. That's what we're doing to take it out of that. And so that's the direction the general manager is saying is for our safety. Let's do that for the short term. We will then come back to them with a policy.
Okay. So the concern then is that what you propose is contained within the basis for this rate structure. Correct? I mean, that's what the issue was that raised. But again, it hasn't been voted on. So the issue is, does that affect their ability to approve this rate? If you've got the knowledge that your intent is to establish a policy and to discuss and vote on this in open session, I believe you can establish such rate structure as you deem appropriate. It was raised. I think there was perhaps some confusion with the discussion that it was voted on and closed, because like I say,
was
that's
never
what
voted on,
I'm like,
yeah.
I don't remember you guys voting on that. So I thought maybe you all had an additional meeting that I missed, because I remember the meeting where it was talked about, but I just remember that it was left out there. So my answer is yes. I think you can vote for this rate structure here tonight.
Okay, cool, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the rate structure as redlined currently?
We're talking about the corporate rate structure, correct?
The total set of rent and rates and fees, which includes the 7% electric increase and removal of the incentive for new businesses to get a lower rate under that particular structure.
Did you have anything else to present, or?
That was it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wortworth,
Yes.
Cookson,
Yes.
Painter,
Yeah.
Peters.
Yeah.
Motion approved.
Motion's approved. Moving on to the next modified item, the general manager's report.
You've gone through my report. I'm not going to repeat it
Can
and
I cut out, or do you need me to stay on?
You can cut out, I think.
All right, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Sorry about
Lucas.
that.
You're fine.
All right, thanks, guys.
Later.
Okay, that's all Darren has, and Matt, if you could enlighten us with the operations report.
I'll keep it short.
I heard it was gonna be short.
Yes.
Very quiet throughout this.
Yeah, I have to commend you.
Overall, electrically, like was alluded to earlier, we had a winter storm, Fern, that impacted other areas of the country. During the month of January, we only recorded 2 outages, both of them less than 40 minutes. So the overall reliability or availability rate stayed up at 99.997, which again is very good. So water production, we're off the better numbers than we were the previous couple of years. A lot of that I think is attributed to warmer than normal temperatures, probably in early January. Water loss, it's something we're continuing to address. We did have an issue with the master meter, or the meter that we were moving around to compare against our customer meters. It's something we fought ever since we've gotten it. We finally got another technician up that did a deep dive in some of the programming on it and found that a scaling factor was off. It was saying 1.97 versus 1.07. And so that brought our numbers that we were receiving through that meter closer to what our customers were receiving, or customer sales meters were showing. And so that has allowed us to move on from the West Ely, that area of town. And so now the crews found a couple leaks over on north side of Mark Twain Avenue that they're going to address. It's an old water main, small diameter water main that they're going to replace about 800 feet of 8-inch and a couple hundred feet of 6-inch. And they hope to start that within the next couple of weeks. Wastewater plant, things running pretty much normal. We did have an issue with the cooler, or the air compressor that we put in earlier this year. There was some fouling of the after cooler. That's what actually cools down the water, transfers the heat, so we can dispose of it outside and keep both the air and the compressor cool. We're working with the vendor on that to remedy that situation, to see if there's anything additional needed there. And Lance was working on the annual reporting of our EPA pre-treatment program. One item to note that we did receive word from EPA that they were here, I think it was end of September, 1st of October, for about 3 or 4 days. There's no further findings on that, and so we should not expect anything further from them regarding that. Sewer collection, we had 0 SSOs. We had 8 reported stop-ups that we went to, and none of them were on us. There were some issue with the customer service that they had to address. Computer and technology related, we can continue to work with NISC on both the transition to some of our front office software to a web platform, and also on our GIS system, as it specifically relates to our electric department, and the ability to do an outage management system so that it would track downstream meters if we have a known problem with a fuse or a cutout. It would show on a map. If you go to some other electric providers, they show, okay, this area of town is out. And it really comes to play when you have a large storm event like we've had back in 2021 with the ice storm or the windstorm. People can look at that map and see when their power in their area is restored. So that's something we're continuing to work through. And the rest contains SCADA and business office statistics. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? No. If not, could you handle some projects?
Yep. Already talked about the water loss on as far as our master meter. We are working with Eden Brothers on building a digital water model. They're looking at where our water is flowing at night when people aren't really using it, and trying to find anomalies so we can go look in those areas as to why that water is flowing that direction, or why is the volume not correlating with what meters are showing. And so we're hoping to utilize that to help, again, hone down that water loss and bring it down. They're getting really close on that, and we hope to have something here within the next month or so that we can report on. The downtown SSO elimination project, down by the dog park, we had a crew move in, and they're actually doing the lining. They're lining 24 and 30-inch diameter mains, using the existing pipe as the host pipe, sliding this in, curing it in place, and then you have a pipe that has a lifespan of 50 or 100 years. I would say more than that, because you do have the host pipe that is still in good condition. When they're doing that, they're having to bypass pump around that section of main, and they began that last week, and it should take a couple more weeks for them to complete that. That's part of a project that was put in place back in 2011, 2012 timeframe. to help eliminate I&I and opening of the constructed SSO down by the stormwater pump station. As a kind of a addition to that lining project, they are also going to line the discharges of those 3 stormwater pond pumps. During the last time those were ran, I think it was 2019 maybe. Discharge line number 2 developed a leak that came to the surface, and rather than digging up the levee and replacing it with a like material, we contacted this company, and they're able to do that at a fraction of the cost. Plus, you're not having to disturb anything. You actually get better flow out of them because it's a smooth wall pipe rather than a steel pipe. So that should happen later this spring. North Street, we about got phase 1 closed out. The city council approved the final change order that amended all the quantities for quantities that were actually installed, not just bid. And then we're hoping to have a kickoff meeting on phase 2 with MoDOT and the contractor and the city and the engineer next Thursday, I believe is the 26th. And so hopefully we'll get that moving, and we'll keep you up to date when that occurs. As part of MoDOT's request on that, they'll install the signage 2 weeks prior to any construction beginning. And that way it allows us to work and get the information out there to the public, and they can ask questions before the contractor actually gets on site. And that's pretty much all I have for the project report.
Okay, any questions of Matt on his project report? Nope. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Paul, if you could enlighten us with the financial side of it.
All right. Well, real quick, just to say something real quick for anybody that might be watching online, we do have a budget workshop every year where we go into extreme detail, line by line item that makes up our budget. We will have that again, I assume, in early April. We are just getting ready to kick off our operating budget process here later this month. And so a very good time for people to tune in and kind of go through that process, and hopefully that'll be beneficial for everybody. But I will jump into the financial
Can I ask
results.
a question on that?
Yeah, please.
Again, for the people at home, so we submit our budget to the council, right?
Correct.
But they do not have to approve it? Or
Correct.
they do have to approve it?
Kelly,
No.
is your button red?
The charter says that you are required to present, the word that's actually in the charter is you're required to present your budget to the council. There was a period of time when that was interpreted to say that that required the council's approval. We did a bunch of looking at that, and it has not always been that way. And there was a decision made that it would no longer be done that way. But just to be fair with you, so the way it's interpreted right now, you all are presenting your budget. Your budget is a separate budget, and there's various good reasons for that. However, that is one of the issues that Mayor Louderman had issue with when he tried to do the charter changes. So at this point in time, that's correct, but I can't tell you it will stay that way because obviously there is some pressure to go the other direction.
Okay, so after we present our budget to the council, they have the ability to look it over. And I remember last year they had some questions and maybe, I don't know if found's the right word, but found some things that and you changed them. Mm-hmm. And so when was that? Like, is it July?
Well, the budget would have went into effect July 1st. So if I recall, that was sometime in May. We submit our budget by May 15th to the council. And so it was late May or early June where they scheduled, I don't know if it was a special meeting or just at a city council meeting, and we came early.
I think it was a special meeting.
Yeah, and we went over a lot of their concerns.
Okay, because where I'm going with this question is, so here it is now, almost time to resubmit our budget. And they're asking questions about the budget from previous in February. And they're asking, the city council is asking like, they're wanting things from the staff from like 2:30 today, wanting information. And then they come to our board meeting and make it appear that we are not being transparent.
Forthcoming.
Thank you. Being transparent with the information because they didn't get what they wanted from 2:30 today. So that's where I was going. Like, there's been plenty of time and probably plenty of questions asked that you guys, what do you do as soon as they ask you a question? Do you answer it immediately, or if you need more time on the information, do you say, here's what I can give you today, I'm going to work on this and send it to them, or do you just totally ignore them?
Right, yeah, yeah, typically I'd go immediately to Darren, make sure he's aware, and then we'd kind of work together through that process to, make sure John is aware, and then provide them, if we can, within a reasonable amount of time. The way I've always kind of thought about that as a 24-hour rule, that's kind of how I treat emails, that you are for sure going to respond with something within 24 hours. Hey, looking into this, might take some more time. Hey, here's what I have so far. I'm still looking at your other questions, that type of thing. I think that's generally what we try to abide by.
But
Can I ask why you have to go to Darren first? Why can't you just answer the questions before?
a lot of
you
that
talk
is
to Darren?
my request, that I know what's going on. I don't think I tell any of them not to, but I also need to know who's talking and who's asking questions, such as the request today at 2:30, give me all of your,
Right.
raises for the last 10 years of every employee. That's pretty tough to come up with in an hour and a half. And so, like you said, we don't ignore any of them, but I also want to protect my employees that have been given this, that it's just been dropped on them. We have, mayor, council members that are coming to my employees, telling them to do this, and that's kind of disrespecting that. And so I don't stop them from getting information, but I have the courtesy of my employees letting me know this is what's going on so that I can let you guys know what's going on.
Well, it seems like
Seems like a, good policy.
I didn't hear
It
about
does.
that request until just now.
yeah, I didn't hear that was a thing until just now, because that seems like a unrealistic request.
Somebody came to you, Paul, requesting that today?
No.
It was an email to Courtney.
Came to me and Beverly.
Gotcha.
Because I just constantly keep hearing at these meetings, when the council comes, that we are not being transparent and we're withholding information. And I just want to make sure that I understand correctly that when they ask a question, we are answering it. It doesn't have to be right on demand or right at this moment, but that their questions are being answered and that they have access to any information that they ask for,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Is that
Yes.
right? Okay.
And there's some stuff that we believe is protected by privacy, and we'll have to go through the right legal to make sure that we can or can't provide what it is. Some of it, my contract is
Employees, yeah.
wide open. Anybody can get a hold of it. It's a public document. And yet there are some things that are private and need to stay private that they may ask for that we may not be able to provide. So, but again, we try to go through all the avenues the right way and in a timely manner.
And then when the question was asked about the teams, so not everything, like, can they see what I see? So they have access to like your manager's report, and
1,000%.
the council has access to everything that I can see.
It's been sent to them, absolutely.
Okay.
Email for the meeting and the agenda and all that and the minutes.
Yes.
We don't have union wages on our teams. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of documents that we don't have provided on our teams. But what we think would be pertinent for the information they need or you need, we have on there. But at their request, we're happy to get anything for them or you guys that we can.
Gotcha.
Okay. I just want to make that clear because I keep hearing differently whenever they're here that we're not being transparent.
Well, that's also because it's
They didn't get it right now.
well, it's taken out of context deliberately, I think.
I do too. Well, that's why I wanted to bring it
To
up
be-
in, for anyone watching that
Be brutal.
that we did address the situation and it's been deemed as, yes, they have access to everything we have access to.
So we covered a lot of ground during the rate hearing. So before I move on, are there any other questions, anything else we need to address with anything with that?
One thing that John Ling asked me was, is the customer charge going up? And I didn't actually know.
Yeah, so it is. The way we've allocated this increase is that 75% of the new revenue that will be generated will go to the usage charge. So by far the lion's share. 15% will go to the demand charge, which is only industrial and large industrial customers. And then 10% will go to that customer charge. So why did we allocate it that way? To be honest, that's how we allocated the last one, the last two, I believe. The argument could be made to allocate 100% of it to usage. It's all the same revenue. It's all that same $1.7 million over a 12-month period. It's just how many ways are there to skin a cat? Where are you going to get it from? The argument to allocate a portion of it to the customer charge, I think, makes sense in light of what's happened with the union negotiations. We can't say no to that 4% increase that's happened. And things of that nature. And keep in mind, we did ask for 11.2% that was allocated the same way.
Right.
And only got 6%. And so, I'm not saying that this is a direct continuation of that. This is, part of that, but more primarily is Winter Storm Fern. So there is arguments for both, but
From a political standpoint, don't you think you'd be better assessing it to a customer charge to the usage charge, because a customer charge is going to bear more upon people with lower income and less ability to handle it?
We can take a beating. The other thing that's going to happen is that for the next 3 months, these are the worst. These are our absolute lowest revenues, and if we don't make that,
I understand.
I know
but-
your
but
point is
guys,
absolutely right.
my point is, the consistent thing I heard from the audience tonight was there's the poor people, the people that are on fixed incomes, et cetera, et cetera. Those folks, if they don't have the ability, if it is going to be charged in a flat fee rate that they have to pay just to be connected to the system, that's going to potentially be an unfair burden upon the people who are least able to bear it. And it's going to get you a lot more pushback from the public, and it's going to upset the council a lot more.
So the usage charge is where you think it should be added, because we have the
I-
ability
unless
to.
somebody thinks I'm looking at it wrong, I think the
No.
usage charge is going to bear
Because
less.
you have the ability
Well, because
to.
it'll
Control
you'll
your-
have the
Control your
ability to-
usage.
And I understand if you put it on the customer charge, you know what you're getting, because you've got a certain amount of people connected.
what are we
to the
talking, 80
system.
cents?
7%.
I
10% of 7%.
I
So, Paul,
do-
how much are we
I do
talking? Is it
understand
like
your
80
position
cents?
that it's not very much money, but my point is that, and I understand why you're doing it from a budgeting standpoint and consistency of the income, but I'm just saying,
Then they feel like they can control
in
it.
regard to addressing the concerns that you heard in your rate hearing meeting, and in particular the concerns you heard from the council. I'm not trying to tell you guys what to do, but I think, just as city attorney, I'm throwing out to you, think about that a little bit, but.
And is the 7%, I know this is probably a dumb question, I'm sorry, you probably already said it. So the 7% is what you just explained, where it's all allocated to, but that customer charge is still within that 7%. So it's not 7% plus the customer charge, right?
Right, the 7% is what would be made in addition to out from the usage charge, the demand charge, and the customer charge,
Okay.
all added together.
So it's everything rolled into one, basically.
Yep, 75% of that new revenue is going to come from the usage charge. It's being increased the most. 15% is coming from the demand charge, and then the remaining 10% is coming from the customer charge. So it's about $1.35 increase for a residential customer just in that fixed customer charge.
I do feel like if there's a way that in a rate increase, if the customer feels like they have a little bit of control, like I can turn all my lights off, or I don't have to use as much water.
Yeah.
I might not shower, for a couple days, whatever. I do feel like that is probably a better a way to approach it, whether we do it now or moving forward, because I just think if you feel like you can control it a little bit, then it
I don't
doesn't
know
seem
if
so
there is a
hopeless.
possibility. I mean, is there a possibility moving forward that we could more put that towards the usage and the, well, demand? Yeah, and then leave out the customer charge. Not all the time. I know we have to up the customer charge as we go, but if we do it periodically instead of every single time, I think it would help. There's no nice way to say it, so I'm not gonna. But I think it would help if we could do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you. I think we'll discuss that when we talk about next year's budget.
Absolutely.
We will also have UFS do a cost of service study. Won't be this next year. I think we're due for one in 2027, maybe 2028. Have to go back and look. But they are the ones that really hone in on that allocation to make sure that we are charging what we are being charged.
I
that's
got
passed
you.
through.
I got you.
Okay, yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. I'm glad you said that.
So you'll probably hear it in the wind, but I misspoke to John Ling, telling him that it was only on usage, not on customer charges. So I'm gonna have to go on record to admit that I was wrong when I mentioned that to him.
Guys, I'm
He
gonna
was
have to
pressing me
excuse
for it.
myself. I'm probably gonna be a couple of minutes late.
You've got another meeting.
I gotta go to the council meeting. I apologize.
See you, James.
See where your priorities are. Thank you, James.
Now, aren't you guys supposed to go? Is it gonna be okay if you don't go?
Yeah, I've looked at the city agenda, and there's nothing there that includes us or
Okay.
that we need to. Matt, do you agree with that assessment?
Okay. Well,
You're welcome.
I'm going to basically skip the electric fund. This is through January, and so a lot of this, none of this data includes the impacts from Winter Storm Fern. I want to make this clear, and I want to try to explain this because you guys are going to have to answer some of these questions. When it comes to our purchase power, our accounting is on the cash basis, all right? And so the power that we bought today, February 17th, we won't get that invoice for another 2 weeks. All right, and so it doesn't actually hit our books for another 2 weeks. So whenever I'm giving you information on purchase power for January, it's going to be about 2 weeks from December and 2 weeks from January. All right, and it rolls through that way throughout the year. So because Winter Storm Fern was the 23rd through the 26th, I think something like that, it is not accounted for in January's books. It's accounted for in February. So the best way to look at it is that we're showing a net income here through January. I've got there on paper $756,000. That's actually about $412,000 because we hadn't recorded our capacity hedge for January. February is estimated to be a net loss of $1.1 million because of Winter Storm Fern. And so if you add those two together, the $412,000 net income, $1.1 million loss for February, actual year-to-date through February is more like a $700,000 loss. And so that's confusing. I realize that. It'll make a lot more sense next month when we go over it. But we've been through the rate increase information, the revenue that will be generated. And so I think the only other thing I'll say is that I mentioned on if you recall the graph that had the invoices back to September, we had a few high ones early on. If you remember, we were actually buying more load than we were actually using. We had a communication error between our meter at our Oakwood substation. They then turned around MISO and trued that up for us in January. And so those high months that we saw in September and October, they said, hey, you paid for more load than you should have. We're going to true that up in January. And so that helped our financial results in January even more because we got those S55, those 55-day true-ups. So,
So the numbers that are showing for January might bring question as to where you came up with your numbers that you presented.
yes.
Okay.
Because we are, I mean, if we look at it, we're doing really well.
Okay.
And they're doubly inflated. One's the true up and one is the cash accounting.
Exactly. Yep,
Well, thank you for telling us that,
completely
because I'm sure
misleading.
that'll be next.
right.
Yeah.
Boy, try to explain that to somebody.
Yeah.
And that's another thing is
Right.
we are
You're
accrual
absolutely
basis. We have to be for our audit, but when it comes to purchase power, we only accrue it one time a year, and that's at June 30. So we take everything that we got in July, but we actually used in June, and we accrue it back into June. It's confusing. I apologize for that, but so let's just go to the water fund real quick. It was a really even keel month for the water fund. We did have a carbon change out in January, and so operating expenses were a little bit more than expected. But year to date, we are at a net income of $538,000, which is better than expected. Revenues are right at budget, and operating costs are about 2% less than expected. So year to date, the debt service coverage ratio in water is at 2.0. And so not a whole lot of wiggle room there over 1.25, but we're there. If we look back over the last 12 months, it's a 2.3. Sewer fund, the picture is not quite as good. We did have net income of $12,000 for the month, but year to date, we're about $214,000, which is a little lower than budgeted. However, we still do have a debt service coverage ratio of 3.65, and so we are good on that. I think the only other thing I mentioned is that we do have our, or I will mention, is that we do have our rating review with S&P Global. It's the same folks that did our last one. The two individuals, that is going to be on Thursday. They've already provided us all of those questions. In those questions, they specifically called out, how were you impacted by this recent storm, the extreme cold, and what did you do about it? And so we've got the responses prepared for that. They obviously ask about cash reserves and everything that they asked about last time. So we're prepared for that and we're ready for it and hoping that goes well. Thank you for your action tonight in helping us with that meeting. That will certainly go a long way in righting the ship for our bond rating. That's all I have for my financial report, unless there's any questions.
Any questions?
Nope, I think.
Having heard none, thank you.
All right. Thank you. I think I've got one more item.
Financials and ratios.
Financial ratios.
Oh,
This
that's right, sorry.
is required by policy. We do have a policy that states we'll present these ratios to you annually based on our audited financial results. And so you have to rewind in your brains all the way back to fiscal year 2025, which was our last audit. And what we do is we put together these ratios. We have internal benchmarks that we try to abide by. Those are kind of industry standards. And then I'll touch real briefly on some other industry municipally owned utilities, but I'll go real quick. Fiscal year 2025, if you'll remember, was the capacity blowout in Zone 5. And so the electric fund ratios, not that they can be ignored, but you kind of know exactly where those are. We had a net loss of $4.1 million for the year. We failed every single operating ratio except one. Obviously, our debt service coverage ratio was a negative number. It was a negative 3.3. Our goal internally is a debt service coverage ratio of 2.0. And as you know, the rate covenant requires 1.25. So not much more to be said about electric. Those results will be significantly different for fiscal year 2026. So that is a good thing. The water fund, if you'll recall, we did a significant rate increase in electric, and so we did not pass a rate increase in the water fund for fiscal year 25. We did pass one for fiscal year 26, but not 25. And so because of that, we didn't quite have the revenue that we needed in the water fund. And so we did see regression in all of our ratios except for, in all of them. The good thing is in the water fund, we did still satisfy our bond covenants by maintaining a 1.25 debt coverage ratio. And then here's where I kind of wanted to just, not a red flag, but just a note in your head a little bit with the sewer fund. We've seen drops in revenues in the sewer fund for really the last, I know 3 years for sure, if not 4. Not exactly sure why. The water fund has stayed pretty steady, but the sewer fund has seen dips pretty much every year. A lot of it is because we haven't done any rate increases in the sewer fund, which is fine. The fund is still extremely healthy, but it's just something to keep in mind. Treatment costs for water and sewer, frankly, continue to go up, as you know, as we see with all of our different chemicals that we buy. And so we kind of need to keep that in the back of our mind when it comes to the sewer fund, that we are seeing a dip in revenues pretty much year after year. So these ratios continue to decline, but they are still overall healthy. The last increase we did in the sewer fund was July of 2018, just so you know. All right. This is more for your information to maybe look at later, but APPA, American Public Power Association, they do this exact same kind of report where they evaluate these ratios for municipal power utilities. There were 190 utilities that participated, including ourselves. They give us that report and provide it to us, and it's a super useful tool to benchmark what our ratio is versus these 190 other utilities. So if you go to the very last page in your report, I've got that breakdown. Our ratio is the first column there, fiscal year 2024. APPA's ratio for utilities that have between 5 and 10,000 customers is in that next column. So you can see when it comes to our revenue per kilowatt hour, we're very similar in a lot of areas. Where we start seeing regression, obviously, because this is the electric fund, is our debt service coverage ratio. The average ratio for these utilities was 6.38. And I will say out of all 190 utilities that participated that were municipally owned, the average ratio was 3.85. So I know that sounds like a huge number to us, but I will tell you a lot of the consultants and third parties will tell you that's more of the number you should be shooting for, because infrastructure replacement is becoming so expensive. You have to plan for replacement. You have to have that reserve fund to do that. And so ours was a negative 0.76 back in fiscal year 2024, just to compare the two. That was quick. Any questions on the financial operating ratios?
Last time, again, that debt service, we're at negative 0.78 when others are at 3 and 6. And for us to just be barely shooting at hitting that 1.25 or 2, it's just, we're still cutting skin. We're really, really carving and whittling versus gaining any ground. And it's dangerous.
Yeah, it is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens at this rating call.
With the what?
S&P, this rating call that we have on Thursday, when they take a look at our finances and where we are on this, and whether they accept it or not.
Okay, anybody have any other questions for Paul?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, it looks like
City attorney's gone.
I need a motion to go into closed session.
I don't know that we need to go into closed session.
Oh, okay.
I
I
think
do
we're-
have some general discussion, sorry. Can we do that?
Sure.
I know we've been here a long time, but I just want to, I wrote down some of the concerns, and so I would just like to just talk about a few of them. Okay, we talked about another meeting. I guess Daryl's question about when did Paul know to raise the 7% and when did Paul identify that was needed? Was it as soon as we knew? I mean, so as soon as we knew that this spike happened, is that when the need was identified?
So if you remember the January board meeting, Paul said, we need to have a 7% rate increase. Now, what that would do is we were, at that point in time, we were going to be meeting our debt ratio coverage.
Right,
We needed that in order for me as the general manager to tell you, we needed to do that in order to start gaining in our reserve fund. Per our
Right.
policy, that's my job to ask you to do that. So we needed that 7% to meet that. And he brought it up. It was gentle. We weren't going to beat a drum on it. If you guys wanted to bring it up, we would. If not, but then the storm hit, and that 7%, we have, frankly, kind of backed off on saying what the plan is to make our debt, our emergency cash flow, our cash fund reserve, but we must have it in order to make our ratio. So all that did is it just moved the target. We needed that 7. We kind of brought it up and said yes, but with that storm, we now absolutely must. So we
and that's
brought,
when you notified us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Because the original was talked about at the January meeting, and then you called us not too long after, well, it was at the end of the month, and said,
Right.
this is something that has to happen.
yes.
Yeah. I just had to get my timeline straight.
Yeah. Okay. And then he talked about what have you done to cut costs? So we're going to send that
That one PowerPoint,
PowerPoint. Thank you.
Is
We're going to
the-
send that PowerPoint.
I mean, I remember a detailed PowerPoint about cost cuts that have happened.
Yeah.
So you're going to send that PowerPoint.
And I will, so now, can I give you just kind of I believe that we do that every single year. We have, and it is included in an annual budget. We go through and we look at every department, everybody's staffing, et cetera. We look at it a 5-year capital plan. That's a part of all of that being put together. It's part of our hedging policy for all of our purchasing. It's the work that we do with our capacity. So them thinking that we don't have this as a written plan, it is called a budget. It's called everything that we give them every single year for them to look at. And we discuss it here. And so that, I just want you to know, holistically, that's what we're doing constantly.
That's what I'm getting out of it too. But
Thank you.
are we going to go ahead and send that to them since they asked?
I'll send that PowerPoint. That's what we committed to
Okay.
provide.
Let's see. It was, I guess, the other thing that was brought up that I feel like needs to be addressed is April's comment about your contract. I just want to make sure I understand the process. So I remember sitting through 2 of yours. I don't know if it's been 2 or 3. I don't even know how long I've been here. Some days it seems like forever. So you present that to us first and then turn that into the city council, or does it go, what was she talking about, the city manager?
I have no idea.
Okay.
That
So-
was, I'm not going to talk about that.
We
Mike,
approve your
what happens is you
contract.
hire a general manager. And the general manager, I work with our HR department, and you guys approve my contract.
Okay.
My contract is with you.
Right, okay.
Now, I don't know if they have, I'll have to look at the contract itself to see if there's even a mayor's signature on it. I don't believe it is, because my
I
contract
don't
is.
think so.
I think my contract is absolutely with you. Now, I had a 3-year contract when I came here. That concluded, and we began another one.
Right,
Okay? So I'm in my 2nd contract with you. And we're following that contract. Now, I did some changes. One of those things is I wanted to be protected that if you are told by the mayor and city council to fire me, that I have a golden parachute to go with that.
and I remember you explained that to us
You guys,
before the contract.
some people would say that was crazy loco. I think that was a very good thing. Now,
But it was approved.
what has happened
Yes.
is the city and staff, they asked for my contract. It is I believe it's a public document, so they could have it. They took that and they shared it with whomever, and their new city manager or their old city manager, I don't care or know who, they used that as a template for their contract. That's what I believe she was saying. But I don't have any input. I don't know what happened over there. Like I said in the meeting, I don't have any association with the ex-city manager at all.
Yeah, I mean, that would be really weird if you did, considering your relationship with her to begin
Let's
with.
quit right there, Kelly.
It's easier to answer a question when you know what's actually being asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a very vague question, and I think it
Volunteer
needed.
something,
I
now
think
you're
it needed
hanging
this-
on that.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't
that's
know
why
where
I
she-
wanted
and I
to
don't know
clear
where
up
she
a
was
few of
going
these,
either. No,
because,
yeah.
you know, while we're, at a meeting where everyone can watch, I want to make sure if there was another one.
I have one while you're looking.
Okay.
Senior discount, has that ever been thought about? I mean,
Say that again?
Senior discount, Norma had, she was up there and she brought up a good point. I mean, like a senior discount or something like that, on people on fixed incomes. Has that ever been thought of before? or-
We have not thought of that. Just, I would simply say that as soon as you start giving somebody a discount, you've got
Somebody
to
else is
make it
gonna-
up somewhere else.
Sure, yeah.
And so that's the only comment I'd make. I know, we want to help this group, but who's going to pay for helping that group?
Oh, no,
Who's going to pay for helping that
And
one?
I
And
think
so-
another good point
totally
to
get
add to
that.
that is, isn't there a NECAC service that helps people? So.
Very much.
But they only have so much money, a month. Every month they only get so much money, and some people will call and say, "Well, we're out of money."
Oh, like NECAC only has so much money that they allow each person, or
No,
just
that
a general
they
fund?
have a
Okay.
general fund. That they only
Okay.
have so much.
We're going to we're going to try and work with our federal legislators to make sure that NECAC gets funded to the very best of its
Better, yeah.
ability.
Which needs to happen.
Yeah, that program is actually administered through NECAC. It's the low income, the LIHEAP, they have the acronym for it. And NECAC happens to be the one that administers that fund around here. So you apply to them and you're applying for the LIHEAP program, which is heat assistance.
So is it based on income? To where maybe seniors wouldn't qualify for it because of their income,
I think
It is income and
income based?
family
Based, yeah.
size.
Okay, well, that's all. I just wanted to get
If there are people that as soon as people hit that, our CSRs are very, very, very knowledgeable and skilled as to how to help people get to those avenues. We can't guarantee any of it, but they definitely help them get to the right place.
assist them to it. And then what about Scott Haycraft's question? I don't know if I got this right. I was trying to understand what he was saying. Hedging, something about fixed pricing to stabilize.
So what happens
That's
is,
kind of risky, right?
well, but it's expensive. So what happens is we take risk right now and we buy the day ahead pricing. And the cheapest power you can get is that day ahead. But what happens is every once in a while you have a winter storm firm. And so it goes here. And so long as you've been putting a little bit away all the way along, you have that to take care of those big anomalies. But if you don't have that reserve fund, then you're in trouble. So what you do is if you don't have a reserve fund, you go out and have somebody else take the risk. So someone like MPUA will say, all right, we know that on the average that we could buy power at $55 and be really, really good. But if we sell it to you at 70, we make that difference. We take a little bit of risk here. We hedge the whole thing. We pay more to take the risk. And so there's a mindset there. But if we are determined that we can't have any kind of reserve fund, then that methodology doesn't work very good. We end up in this situation where you have to have rate increases all of a sudden. And so maybe we go look, but I think the last time we looked, I think we talked to another group, I won't put the name on it, but instead of our average cost being right around $35, it would have been around 70. Now, that takes all the risk out. That's your insurance. You're going to pay this insurance premium. And hey, if that's what it's going to be for the next 5 years, maybe that's what we want. But it's a different methodology of handling it. It's more expensive. But if that's what people want, is that consistency? You pay for it, but you'll pay more.
And then, sorry, I keep thinking of things. When we approved, I think the last rate increase when Daryl was on board, did we get rid of the fee you have to pay if your utilities are turned off? Or no? I guess not. because they both say
we made an adjustment in it. Do you remember, Paul, the adjustments we made in the rates and fees for shut-offs?
Well, we added, I'm trying to remember too. 'cause
I
they
know,
were
I
a
can't
whole
remember,
litany
yeah.
of items, and I know we added a tampering fee for
Yes, I
sure.
remember that.
I believe what we did is we increased the charge for after hours. We
I got rid of the door tag fee.
we were gonna do a door tag fee, and we didn't end up doing that. And then we were also going to increase, I think, the penalty, and we didn't end up doing that.
What is the, is there a certain rate if your electricity gets turned off, or is it based on what you owe?
Yeah, so to get
But she said hers was $150.
right, yeah, to get turned back on, you would have to pay, and if it's to get turned back on during normal hours, you pay the service charge, which is $50.
Okay,
And then if it's after hours, which we have defined as after 3:30 p.m., you pay $100.
okay.
And it's
Plus
in
the
addition
service
to
fee.
plus the service charge.
So that's where she got $150.
Okay, that makes sense.
And does that fee have to be paid up front before their electricity will be turned back on?
It does. They have to pay that fee and all of their electricity bill. We do have a amount that they can leave out there. I want to say it's $50 that they can carry.
Okay.
So the turbine that's going out there by the hospital, those are for spikes like we had back in January.
Yes.
So if we had that now, that would give us revenue for everybody using that. They'd be buying our electricity at that point.
Yes. So we would still be paying, forget what it is per year on
Sure.
our capacity,
Sure.
but that would come against that. And I
Right.
think, are we talking, Paul, was it like 4 million a year for capacity? So that would have taken and paid for a fourth of our year for capacity.
Right. So we would have seen a significant drop
That's right.
in rates, or at least in fees.
Yes.
Okay.
And then and my proposal is that what's going to happen is that next year, we will know exactly what this cost of capacity was. We'll charge it here, we go, and just each year, we're gonna vary with what the weather and what happens.
Very good.
And
Okay.
I remember you saying $60 million. I thought that project was going to be paid for by, or am I confused? I'm sure
No,
I'm
you're right.
confusing it.
So,
Yeah.
but and thank you, let me clarify this. That entire Tyler project, phase 1 and 2, to make 70 megawatts of electricity, peaking is 220 million. We are 42% of that. And if maybe I may have quoted it wrong. Are we about 80? So are we committing to about 80 million of that for 30 years?
I think that'd be
That's really rough, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that we have committed through MPUA to be a partner in that. So we have a commitment to them. It's their debt. They're the ones that have borrowed it, but we're going to be paying that through our capacity
Okay.
charges through them.
Okay.
So,
I understand that
I
now.
guess what I was trying to tell them is that, if you're thinking we're just sitting here and not doing anything, we're making some big commitments, looking at the future and helping us in our capacity in the future today.
Okay. Yeah, because I thought
And it's not insignificant.
okay. Well, I think those are all my questions.
Right on. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I was gonna tell you.